Where's the Metrodome when you need it? Target Field smelled like wet dog Monday night when Bark at the Park happened amid 2 rain delays and 3 total innings of baseball. Can the Twins resume their winning ways against the Guardians on Tuesday? Not if it keeps raining dogs and Carson McCusker's bat. How's Wednesday looking for a triple header? Anyway, if they're not going to dome cities, it's time to put on a poncho and get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Every day. I meant to say if they're not going to dome the Twin Cities, not just cities in general. But I guess it works both ways. It's very dystopian, though, to dome them. But anyway, yeah. Stephen King. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. And don't forget that. Be grateful for once. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who couldn't write very well in the rain, so I get it. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who likes to flood the world with puns. Brandon was a Twins fan, who became a Twins writer, and now he is both. You can find more of our work at Access Twins and Zone Coverage. On the podcast this time, you're suspended. Twins and Guardians get in 3 innings before Mother Nature says, come on. They'll play 2 on Wednesday or like most of 1 and then a 2 or are scheduled to. Actually, it's more like 1 6/9. If the weather cooperates, which is questionable, they'll get it done. If not, Brett, we'll talk about contingency plans with Brandon, who is in the Twin Cities and knows better than I about how the weather is. And 1/3 of Carson McCusker's Major League debut is in the books. We'll grade the rookie on his bat toss.
His starting debut, I might add.
His starting. Oh, that's right. It's a starting debut because he played. He hit back to the pitcher's mound and played some right field in Milwaukee. That's right.
Yeah.
Glad we got that settled. So, Brandon, what's it looking like right now? Is it raining still, cats and dogs, or are we dry?
Yeah, I'd say it's raining poodles and Siamese cats right now. It's quite wild. My daughter's game was canceled last night. It's funny. They made them leave the house. It was like 35 minutes away, and they got 1 city away, and they're like, oh, canceled. And it was like, you could tell, like my old man fat guy softball was canceled at like 3 p.m, but they waited until like 6 o'clock to cancel the softball or my daughter's softball game. So I could not believe that. And it hasn't really let up since. I would guess we've probably taken in a couple inches of rain here in the last 24 hours, and it doesn't look like it's going to let up too much. But the nice thing about MLB stadiums is they're well drained. The drainage is great, and they have the tarp on. So if they find a window, that dreaded window, they'll try to play 15 or 14, and hopefully 14 and a half or 14 innings of baseball today if the Twins can win in 5.5 and 8.5.
No, they have to play. They're going to have to play a 9-inning game. There's no, right?
Right, but they've already played 3, so 5.5 more gets you to 8.5.
There's way too much math going on right now. And have you seen any like large boats floating by with 2 of each animal in them?
No,
so
mostly
it's not one of those kind of things.
Small vessels, nothing too large, which is not as sinister as might otherwise be. But this is, I'll put my dad voice on. Boy, we needed this rain.
Did we? It seems like it rains all the time there. The Saints have had a bunch of games rained out.
They're in Columbus.
Making Metrodome jokes for 2 months.
They were in Columbus for a lot of that. But I was just wondering, like, at what point do you have to reconsider sending guys to St. Paul as opposed to Fort Myers?
I think you just assume that when we get to June, it'll stop raining a little bit. Although, doesn't it rain a lot in June too in Minnesota?
It comes and goes. It's very hard to tell. For instance, in 2018, they had games canceled due to snow, and then had games that were played in like 80, 82 degrees. So if you don't like the weather in Minnesota, just wait a few minutes.
Everybody says that about their own weather, but it's true.
Well,
in the Midwest. So we had a situation. Remember, in Cleveland, there was in the middle of the series, there was a game that they delayed because they thought it would rain, and then they waited like 3 hours, and it rained like 3 minutes, and then they played the game. Should we have? What is what they did last night, in your opinion, a good thing that they got three innings in? I'm not sure it helps the Twins a lot that they did, considering we've been talking about as good as their starting pitching's been. They've had short starts. Well, this is a very short start by Bailey Ober, no fault of his own.
Yeah, and this bullpen, as we've said, is built more for inning by inning. Jorge Alcala has been their longer inning guy, and who knows what his status is. And last I recall, if you knew 24 hours in advance of a doubleheader.
Uh-oh. Brandon froze. I'm going to take a screenshot of this because it's funny.
Yeah, there we go.
How much?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I saw you say, I don't know how it will turn out on the recording, was if you knew 24 hours in advance of a doubleheader, and then you were frozen. So go from there. Pick up your thought from there. You're frozen again.
When I was covering games in person, if you knew 24 hours in advance that a doubleheader would be played, and I don't know if this is considered a doubleheader, you could have a 27th man, in which case I don't know who the Twins would bring up. And how do you structure it? Do you use your starter in a 2-1 game with 6 innings to go and then start somebody else, David Festa or Andrew Morris? I don't know where either of those guys line up. St. Paul has already been canceled for today, and I think they had a double dip today that's already gotten banged. And they sent that email out about 9 o'clock, or maybe even earlier. I don't know. Anyhow, so I don't know. The pitching to me is up in the air, and if they can't get another arm, as far as the 27th man, then it gets really tricky. And then in that case, I think you probably do a bullpen game and then hope against hope that your starter in game 2 can give you 7 innings.
Yeah, Paddock. I was going to ask you if you would start Paddock to finish this game.
Yes.
Or not.
I think I would. Which may come across as unconventional. But, I mean, it's starting like isn't it like if golf you have a 1 handicap? So he's -1, or as far as gambling odds would go. He's starting with a leg up.
Right. I'm not sure what I would do here. I feel like if it was Joe Ryan or Pablo's turn to pitch the next game, I would start them. Or if there was another Bailey Ober, if they had cloned him. But I'm sorry, Mr. Sheriff. I'm not 100% bought on Scott Paddock or Chris Paddock or Ben Matlock. So that's a good question. I think I would go with the bullpen at this point because that's your best chance to win. And I think if it was Joe Ryan or Pablo Lopez's turn next, then I would start them with the 1 inning advantage. But then again, you're only getting 6 innings out of them. You might be able to finish the game with them, but you're also sort of painting yourself into. I mean, this is why they pay Rocco the big bucks. It's not. These aren't easy decisions. What did you think of the fact that when they were in Cleveland, they didn't start the game for 3 hours, but they did start this game? And I think I wonder if we need to give the Guardians a they get there's like a gap. There's like a nuclear weapons gap between the United States and Soviet Union in the 80s. We need more nuclear missiles. Do we need a better rain forecaster for the Twins because they only got 3 innings in this game? Wouldn't it have been better to just push it all back?
Yes, for sure. And the radar, I mean, schmoes like you and me could have been easily in charge and figured out that game was not going to be completed. They didn't have that vaunted window that they needed to get it in, and they may not find it today. Who knows if they'll find it mañana? But not starting the game for missed, I think, is a bigger miss than starting a game knowing there'd be a torrential downpour. Now, I mean, I guess either one. I'm not about to go back and retroactively give the Guardians credit. And maybe the Twins are like, yeah, how do you like it? How do you like, getting your schedule messed with? And now we dive deeper into your bullpen, which is not as good as it was last year. At least I don't think it is. And so I don't know. Maybe there is some gamesmanship. I wouldn't rule it out.
All right. Speaking of gamesmanship, we're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about whatever it was that the first 3 innings yesterday and where the season lies and all kinds of other things on the Locked On Twins podcast.
Well, we got to give some love to our friends at Monarch Money. If you've ever checked your bank account and wondered where all your money went, you're pretty much like the rest of us. But between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's very easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money steps in, because it's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. The all-in-one convenience is great. You don't have to juggle multiple apps. You can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even work on those long-term goals. Plus, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and you'll get 50% off your first year. That's LOCKEDONMLB at Monarch Money for 50% off your first year. Again, Locked On MLB at monarchmoney.com, half off that first year.
Locked On Twins has returned. And one stray thought I had about dog bark at the park. The dogs don't get to come.
You didn't intend that, did you?
I didn't, but it shows you how my mind works. However,
very Freudian.
Will the dogs get to? Sometimes the dog is just a dog. Will the dogs get to come back for the rest of the game? The rest of bark at the park? They can't. They're not going to let them in, are they? It says, on my ticket that I can bring my dog in, but.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the admission? I would imagine if you had a ticket, you can get into this one too. I don't know the logistics of it. I'm not saying that I don't particularly care, but I don't know that I'm going to follow up with the Twins since I didn't have a ticket to last night's game. But yeah, I would definitely be curious. And the whole wet dog situation was something I thought about, though. Like, you had the Ring doorbell they were playing after, I don't know if it was strikeouts or what it was, but the whole ding dong, like that, there would be.
Did that work? Did they start barking?
Not that I could hear, but maybe they don't have field level mics that can pick up a lot of the fans and that sort of thing. Probably because the fans say some naughty things, but I would imagine a few dogs definitely perked up for that.
You'd think that they would have mics that could hear what dogs can hear. Supposedly they have different frequencies than we do, so they can hear like what Superman hears when the bad guys are coming. The dogs are ready for that too. So you know what? I bet they can't. They're probably not gonna. I bet there's like one person that will bring their dog tomorrow. Over under one on how many people bring their dog to the completion of this game. They got a voucher from the team, said, "Hey, this was dog. I got 6 more innings to go. You owe me 6 innings, me and my dog." But I bet they don't let them in, because it's a traditional doubleheader. There's no break. So These people could be running around with their dogs in it for an extra game. And we can't have that. There will not be disorder. We will keep order. We will keep the dogs to one night and one night only. And I just think that's kind of unfortunate.
One of the games I covered at Kauffman Stadium had bark at the park, and some pictures got into the USA Today archive. And there was one of like a golden retriever with his mouth and I don't know, jowls or upper. And he was like, had them all on the cement, but it looked like he was smiling. It was one of the funniest pictures I think I've ever seen of a dog.
It's always funny when dogs are brought into the picture. There should be, I don't know if the Twins have more than one bark at the park. I think the Royals have at least a couple. There would be like 1 or maybe even 2 more later in the season where they let the dogs in. Let the dogs in.
I think the Twins were a late adopter to that trend.
I suppose. Adoption. Is that another stray? Is that another?
I know Betsy Helfand is like, I don't want to say that obsessed is the word, but she loves when players would bring their dogs in, 7-8 years ago. And so This is the next step forward, which I think is pretty cool.
Have they not been doing it since COVID or something? They think the dogs are COVID spreaders?
I don't think they adopted it that early. If I were to guess the first Bark in the Park, it probably was a lot later than a lot of other teams, but maybe part of it was back in the Metrodome days, they didn't want dogs in there. I don't know.
So there were a couple of highlights from the game. They did play, the first 3 innings. We got another RBI from Willie Castro. Looks like maybe he's swinging the bat better. Everybody's ready to get rid of Willie Castro. Think he's more trouble than he's worth or something. You people are not very remembering of the good things that Willie's done. So there's that. Ober pitched. Ober now, he only pitched 3 innings. So I don't know if you to make up for it against the Royals, do you bring him back in like a bullpen scenario, like in between starts where he can go 1 or 2 innings as if it's his side session? Is that, or do we just give him the extra time off in between starts? I don't know, but he pitched, he's pitching great. He's continues to pitch well. So that's good. Probably the number one highlight though was Carson McCusker's, I'm going to say 140-foot bat toss. I don't know if it was that far. It's hard to, I haven't seen any StatCast data on it. Maybe, you're connected with those people. Maybe they will let you know at some point, but it was long. I mean, Theo Tollefson said at the time, I don't think I've ever seen a bat reach the outfield before. Certainly not in fair territory. And the broadcast was kind of wondering the same thing. And even they made a story out of it in the Star Tribune that McCusker with the umpires like, hey, you ever seen a bat fly that far? And I don't know if the umpire said anything. Nope, Carson, I haven't. So he hasn't hit the ball well yet, but he has. We lost Brandon.
For a minute.
Hated my story so much. It's getting dark in there.
Can you hear me at least?
I can hear you. You've gone black though.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. So to explain to people, my desktop would not play any of our intro stuff and outro stuff. It would lock up. So I'm on the laptop for now until I investigate the potential of getting a new camera and or some other stuff. So for now, we're kind of improvising, and it's, as you can tell, going great.
It's going pretty good. It's going about as good as a Twins Guardians rain delay. But so McCusker doesn't really have any success offensively, but at least we know he's got the power to get the bat into the outfield. So I think it's the first. I'm sure it's going to be a legendary time with McCusker on the Twins roster, and this is just the first legendary thing that's happened, a big bat toss.
Well, and he had that ball that he misplayed in right field, and they explained it quite well. I think Justin Morneau did like a teleprompter situation or whatever they call that now, or telestrator, where I think it's telestrator. He circled like different parts on the wall, and he's like, that's plywood, that's limestone, that's this, that's that. And so, it's difficult. And, if it, should Larnach have played right field? Should he have DH'd? I mean, it certainly is a priority for Royce Lewis to get and stay healthy. So he was DHing. And if Byron Buxton was healthy, you move Bader around, you move guys around. But then again, if Buxton was healthy, you don't have McCusker up. So it's a lot of like varying degrees, 7 degrees of separation between guys who are healthy and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure what the right answer is, but McCusker definitely made a meal out of that one.
McClucker. That'd be a good chicken place.
McClusker. McClucker.
Carson McClucker's.
Carson McClucker.
Here comes what'd they say on the
McClusker.
McClusker.
I think it's McClusker time.
It's McClusker time. So whenever he makes a mistake, it'll be McClusker time.
McClobber.
McClobber. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as he needs to play on defense a little bit. You need to get him out there. You might as well. Larnach is probably more experienced, I would guess a better defensive player in right field. Not necessarily what I would call a good player, but on defense. But you're not losing that much. I think ultimately, down the stretch, if this were a playoff series, you wouldn't have him necessarily in right field. But he is pretty huge, and you can kind of see he reminds me of Richie Sexton a bit. Big, slim, 6'8" fella. You can kind of see where first base might not be all that easy for the guy. It's a long way down.
It's a where have you gone Max Kepler situation.
A little bit, but the Phillies fans are complaining about Max Kepler. We can't find any outfielders. Max Kepler's slugging 350.
Yeah, and he dropped. He fell off to say it like the kids would say it, because he had a really nice start. And remember, people are complaining, why do guys get so much better when they leave the Twins, as though 28 games or whatever was a sample size to be reckoned with. And he's definitely fallen off. By the way, could I do a fun fact from yesterday's 1/3 of a game?
Does it involve lighting your square up or a rectangle?
I don't think so. Okay. Bailey Ober threw 42 pitches last night, 35 strikes. So 35-7. He pitched like a guy who knew the rains were a-coming.
Yeah, he definitely was in a hurry. I liked even at the end and the top of the fourth how he was the first one out of the dugout. It's like, hurry up, because thinking, well, if we got 6 more defensive outs in the game, the Twins, maybe would have won 2-1, and we wouldn't have this backup issue. But we
steal a W, and they got close. I mean, like you said, 6. That last half inning. What did they say? I think Logan Allen threw 5 pitches, and it was a fly out, a ground out, and a ground out. And I think France was on 1 pitch, and Lee and Lewis might have been 2 pitches each. But they were definitely cognizant. And I'm sure Rocco said, listen, guys, we got to get through 5. And they just couldn't quite do it.
We are cognizant of our second and final commercial break. Can we do that?
Yep.
With you gone black?
I guess. I'll figure it out.
All right, well, let's take it.
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
I'm not.
Are you reading something?
Nope. This one is we have it lined up so that we get to talk about our national sponsors, which is kind of cool, but I get to wash my hands of saying those things. We have our wonderful narrators from up top.
All right. Well, thank you, Jesus. Oh, not that guy up top. So what else is happening? We mentioned that right field, Matt Walner is very close to going on a rehab assignment. They tried to make me go to rehab, and I said no. But Walner would go, I would assume, with St. Paul, as long as the flood doesn't happen. I'm not sure what their schedule is, but he's going to go somewhere pretty soon and play a few games and then come back. So maybe a week for Matt Walner, maybe not that long. But the rehab assignment reportedly might happen as soon as Wednesday, and we are recording at noon on Tuesday. So that certainly would, Carson McCusker's got to get his bat tossing in now, I suspect. Although, who knows how also the returns of Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa fit into this. They are reportedly doing better with their concussions, but they are not yet ready to come back either. I think Buxton is likely to get back before Correa, just based on the severity of things. And, they relatively quickly put Correa, I mean relatively, they put Correa on the IL, the 7-day IL, before they did Buxton. They waited as long as they could, I think, to do that. But so the roster is a little bit in flux, but there's a good chance that, say, I don't know, in 10 days, the Twins will be completely healthy.
Luke Keeschel, depending on how you feel. But I mean, he wasn't in the immediate future to start the season. He just kind of forced their hand between that and injuries. I think there's an opportunity for some commercial appeal for like a Carson McCusker axe throwing night.
Right. Now you're on it. you've got a good angle there. I like that. I hope your angle is that way.
I'll pass.
So away
I'll
from
pass
me when
that
you
on
throw
to
the axe.
the appropriate authorities.
Maybe a bobblehead too, a Carson McCusker.
Bobblehead.
Maybe not an axe, but like a thrown bat bobblehead. Would that be funny?
You could do a bobble hand. You could do one, a small little metal pole with the bat out front of him, but he doesn't have it in his hands. I think there's opportunities there. Now, he's got to stay in the major leagues longer than a week. At least with Chris Colabello's cowbell, he was in the major leagues for a few months. McClusker needs to show some staying power by showing some power. And not that I don't think he can, just he's not going to have much of an opportunity with, hopefully, guys getting healthy.
We have put the cart before the horse a little bit. We've got the bobblehead idea. Now we need, him to play long enough and well enough to earn the bobblehead situation.
Yes.
I've covered many a White Sox and a Royal player who, that looks like a good bobblehead idea, and then the guy didn't hit and went back to the minors, and you never heard from him again. So it's like, well, what good was that fun moment?
The Rays have two of my favorite bobblehead stories. It was Jason Tyner being sent back before his came out, and Manny Ramirez getting DFA'd before it came out. And I believe they exploded to destroy those. Because did he get popped for PEDs with them, or maybe he just played so poorly that they dumped him? I can't remember, but
I know he did get popped, and I remember him playing poorly too. But I'm not sure about the Rays time.
I know he got popped with the Dodgers too, right? And they let him play rehab games coming back, and there was some controversy over that, like, should this be allowed, and etc.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, but the Rays will never overlook an opportunity to market in some respect that way. So to get people to come to the ballpark, so they're going to jump the gun on some bobbleheads. But good idea for Carson McClucker, to have a bobblehead ready. Hopefully he'll hit some home runs, and
he'll be holding a bucket of chicken in one hand and a bat in the other.
I mean, there's so many opportunities. It's amazing. And of course, we talk about it. The Saints could capitalize on these moments at any time. So that could be a situation where they do a bobblehead of Carson McCusker. That is, I mean, they couldn't do the bat toss because that happened in the major leagues. Yeah, and that would be like major league appropriation,
intellectual property. Yeah, you
don't want to be accused of that ever. So they'd have to come up with their own idea. So maybe it would be more of a McClucker type idea. But so Walner's hamstring, to just sort of circle back, kind of like with Royce Lewis, nothing was happening, no progress, and then kind of one day. The body is an amazing healing machine. He's able to run now, and he's able to fully sprint. But of course, you got to turn left in baseball sometimes, and sometimes right when you're in the outfield. So he's on the way to coming back. That would be huge for the offense. Royce Lewis too. We're going to see how they're going to do. One of the things going into the Cleveland series was how is the offense going to be able to sustain the relative success that they've had without Correa and Buxton in the lineup. That isn't going to change. Those guys have still been out, but I'm still looking forward to 10 days from now, say maybe 2 weeks from now, when, except for Luke Keystall, they have most of the lineup back, and that would be good.
And I'm sure I know the answer to this, but you have to sit out 7 days. Like, you can't come back sooner.
Yeah, no. It has to be at least 7 days. But it also seems to me the way they're talking about Buxton and Correa. So it would be, was it Thursday? When did they? Yeah. Was it Thursday when they collided in Baltimore? It was Wednesday or Thursday?
Was it the last game of the series? So I think
Thursday. It was. Was it Thursday? So anyway.
They get a couple days to go at least.
Yes, and I don't think it's going to be 7 days and boom, they're back. I think it'll be a little longer than that. So maybe maybe Byron could come back at the end of the Royals series. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's jumping the gun a little bit with it. And the funny thing about these concussions is, like, well, I mean, I don't even want to say it because the Twins have a history of concussions really raising their ugly head. I don't know. Is that a
derailed? They've derailed careers.
They've certainly shortened them.
Yep,
certainly so. And Joe Mauer was never the same after and had to retire early because of them. That was
really Justin Morneau wasn't either.
That's true. So it's hopefully they're okay. I mean, it's just scary. Concussions aren't always like that, but sometimes you're never quite the same after them. So hopefully Buxton and Correa will be better soon.
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody hit anybody else and they both got a concussion. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Yeah, and it was a head collision. A lot of times it will be some other body part in the head, like one person, which is sort of what you're saying. But that's where the impact was. It's difficult to maybe in some of the old baseball highlights, set the music, the bloopers. I've seen maybe a couple heads bang before, but it's difficult to do. It's there's a lot more body than there is head, but that was some unlucky stuff. But
and you keep in mind that concussions 20 years ago, he got his bell rung. Get back out there. I was watching I was watching an old Super Bowl with the Broncos and I think it was the Packers. And Terrell Davis missed a few plays and they go, he's got a touch of the concussion. He's probable to return. I'm like, geez.
Yeah, it's I think they were football's rub some dirt on it and get back out there sport anyway, but they're all a little too machismo for their own good sometimes. And I think it's good that we have a lot more. It isn't so much preventative, but it's post-concussion standards that they have to live up to at least give them a cursory medical examination before they go back out. Whether that's good enough, really, I don't know. But I'll tell you what's really good enough. We want to thank you for listening to the show and for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, we want you to check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. So that's every game, every night, all season long. That's a lot of Locked On. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And you're only listening to Brandon right now because his video went out, and hopefully we'll remedy that next time. But because I don't know if aesthetically, if it's good that I'm carrying the show in that way. We need to spread out that labor, but we'll see what we can do. So for Brandon, this is Dave Brown saying, wishing you all a very pleasant good evening. And it's dark where Brandon is, so we will Alexei Casilla maybe tomorrow night.